In this video, I am going to show how to create a cinematic to show off your level. So let's go ahead and get started. So right here I've created a little bit of a physics fun level so that when you play it, there's some fun physics things going on around here that can be looked at. Perpetually rotating arm or lever. And then over here there's another one where it just kind of knocks around this physics thing right here. So some fun stuff to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. And first thing we do is we want to create a camera and animate it to show off all of our cool stuff. So I'm going to go over here to where we see cinematic. Then we've got some camera things over here, rig crane, the rig rail, and then the camera actor as well. So I can also go to where it says all classes, and I could look over here for just the cameras and Cine Camera Actor, but either way is fine. So I'm going to drag a camera out and get it into position. So now I can see here when my camera's selected what my camera sees. So let's make sure it's facing the right direction. It looks like it is. Or is it? No, it's not. So I got to turn it around. So pressing F focuses on the camera. Let's rotate it 180 degrees. There it is. And I'm going to pull it up just a little bit and maybe rotate it down slightly. All this to set up my camera before anything else starts, before I start animating or whatever. So I'd like to start it at this end and then go from there. Alright, that looks good. And maybe rotate it just a touch more. There we go. Alright, I'm kind of happy with that. So I've got my camera set up. Next thing I need to do is animate my camera. I'm going to do that in the level sequence. So I went Cinematics, Add Level Sequence. Do not use Matinee. That is a legacy feature that we're moving away from. So we're going to use Add Level Sequence. So I'm click that. And I have to name it, so this will be my cameras. How about 01, just in case I do others. So cameras 01, put it where you want it. I'll just put it in the top level content folder there and save. Alright, so my level sequence came up off screen, so I'll put it down here so you can see it as well. And scroll it down here. Alright, so now, and you can see that there's a little icon now. This is my level sequence icon that you can see. It's different from the camera, which is my Cine Camera Actor 1, and then you can see the level sequence. It even says level sequence right there, if I can pull that over for you. Level sequence actor. Alright, so anyway, the thing that I'm actually going to be animating, though, is not the camera. It's going to be the actual, I'm sorry, it is the camera, not the level sequence, but it's the actual camera itself. And I can rename this camera if I would like to. So instead of Cine Camera Actor 1, I'm just going to call it Camera, how about Camera 1? And Camera 1. And that looks good to me. Or _01. Alright, so I kind of like that, and I'm going to work with my camera. So there it is, Camera 01. Oh, it looks like my level sequence is named the same thing. That's fine, because they're different types. Alright, so I would like to take this camera and add it to my level sequence. So I'm going with my camera selected. Remember, I've positioned it. It's in place. I will now click on the Add button, come up here to Actor to Sequence. I would like to add Camera 1. There it is. Now, with my camera 1, I've got all these different things. I'm not going to worry about focal length and the focus distance and the aperture and all that, so I'm going to roll that up. What I would like to do is deal with the transforms. I have location, rotation, and scale transforms. To start off, we're just going to go with location transforms, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to animate that. These are my frames across here. There are 30 frames per second, as you can see here, 30 FPS. There's other options for that, but we're just going to keep it at 30. And then across here is my timeline. There's 30 frames per second, so this is done in frames. So 1 second is there, and 2 seconds would be down here, and so on and so forth. Down here tells me how large my timeline is. It's currently up to 150 frames, which is 5 seconds, but I can add more if I would like to. So let's see, we'll just do 5 seconds. That's fine for this demo. So I'm going to go back to 0 here. and that looks good. Alright, so to start off, I need to always set a key at the beginning of movement and set a key at the end of movement. So before I start moving my camera, I need to set a key here. A key is simply a storage container for X, Y, and Z location information. It can also store rotation and scale information as well. I'm just using location right now. If I would like to key all three axes, then I would press location, and I could key it. There's two different ways to key it. One way is simply to click this little button right here. Click, and you can see it added X, Y, and Z location information. Now, let's see. I'm going to scroll all the way down over 5 seconds, all the way down to the end here. So I'm going to go all the way to 150 frames. Right down there, you can see 150. And I'm going to now move my camera, and I should probably move this down so I can see what my camera is looking at. So over the course of 150 frames, I'd like my camera to move kind of to the end of my level, right there. And now I would like to set more keys down at 150. Instead of pressing this little button right there, the other way that you can set keys is simply by tapping your Enter key on your keyboard. So I tapped Enter, and you can see that now it's set keys there. So if I scrub my slider, which is right here, you'll see the camera going from point A down to point B. That looks pretty good. So I kind of like that movement, and if I want to test it, you'll see there's right there some controls. Let me pull down just a little bit and hit play. And I'm going to watch what's in my camera here. I guess I should go back to 0. I'll watch what's in my camera and hit play. So nice and easy. There's nothing moving in there yet. We'll get to that in a moment. When I hit the play button up here, that's when all these things will start working. 5 seconds was good for what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to show you how to set up a cinematic. Alright, I'm going to roll this up, and I will roll up camera 1 because I'm done with camera 1. So I have all my animation there. If you want to see it again, just roll it out. And there's a key there and a key there. Now, I'd like to add one more camera just to show you how to do multiple cameras, and I'll also do a fade track in between. So I'm going to do 5 more seconds with a camera going the other way from back here, going the other way. Just something to do. And let's wait 1 second in between. So I'm going to add 150 frames to the 150 I already have. That'll give us 300. I would like there to be a 1 second transition, 30 more frames. So the 150 I'm going to add, plus another 30 is 180 frames that I'm going to add to this. So I'll come down here, type in 330 frames, and I'm going to scrub this all the way down. There we go. Now right now you're noticing this is lighter, this is kind of grayed out. This red line indicates where the end of my animation is. So I need to pull that all the way to the end of my animation here to frame 330. That will allow my animation to go all the way there. If I just want to mess with frames 150 to 330 and lengthen it, I can come here and stretch this a little bit. And you should notice the numbers here changing. It tells me what my first frame is now down here. It's at 143. Alright, there's no animation here. I need a second camera. I'm going to roll this one up, and let's pull this down just a little bit, and let's go create another camera. So I'll go back into here, and let's see. Last time we used Cinecamera Actor, specialized to work like a cinematic camera. This time I'm just going to use a regular camera. Click, drag, put it in there, and let's pull it up. You know what? This time let's as if we're walking through the scene here. We're going to keep it a little bit lower so that when it goes, it'll just like it's walking through the level, and we'll see what we can see. So, and I'm going to slow this one down. Let's see, I've already set 330. Let's add 2 more seconds to that, so 390. We'll slow it down a little bit and move my end down. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so I've got my camera. I need to animate it. I'm actually going to start, remember we're going to have a 30 frame transition here, so I'm not going to start animating the beginning. Remember rule number 1, set a key at the beginning of movement. Alright, here's the beginning of camera 2 movement. Well, here's camera 2 right here. Camera, let's rename this. Camera underscore 02. And let's add it to our sequencer, which we've not done yet. So with camera 2 selected, I will add actor to sequence, add camera 2. Click. Alright, so now camera 2 also has transforms. And I'm just going to use these transforms again. That looks really good. I need to set a key here. I'm just going to do it for location, so the whole thing. And let's see. So so that's where I'm going to start. And I always like to go to if I'm doing just straightforward stuff like this, you know what? I'm going all the way to the end. So I'm going to frame 390. Pull this thing all the way to the end. I guess I need to see that. Pull this all the way to the end. And let's just stop looking at the door. How about that? And I'll set a key here by tapping enter. I like to do it both ways. You can see my yellow stringy thing here indicating that I now have animation on this. So I'm going to scrub my slider. That looks pretty good. And let's hit the play button and just see how slow or fast it moves. It's pretty fast, but this is just a demo, so I'm okay with that. That looks good. Alright, you know what? Let's do something a little different. Let's add some rotation keys in there as well. So we're going to stop it early. So make sure you are on frame 390. And I'm actually going to pull this back a little bit to right here. And we're actually going to stop. We're actually going to stop right here. But because I want to look up a little bit, I want to show you a rotation key. So I'm going to pull this back to maybe frame 3. Let's go to 310. Right there. So I'm going to set another key here, another location. Oops, wrong one. Right here. Another location key. Boom. Set them right there. I'm done with location. Now you're thinking, well, didn't you just set some keys down here? I did. So I gotta get rid of those. So I'm gonna delete those. See if I can select them. If I have trouble selecting those because they're way down there, I'll just increase this a little bit. 400. Pull it down. Now I can see them. And I'm just gonna right click and delete. Right click delete and right click delete. There we go. And that looks good. This needs to be brought back up to 390. Where's 390? Right there. So just make sure that everything's set properly. Okay, so I ended my movement right here. My camera, you can see it only goes to there now. But now I'd like to look up. I've actually got something going on here. There's a little moving arm right here that let's just look up at that. So we're going to rotate. I'd like to start my rotate a little bit early. I'm going to start the rotate at 300. So now let's roll up our location. Let's go to our rotation, and we're only going to rotate on the on that y-axis right there. So I need to, oops, stop. I need to let's go back here to rotation, and actually I need to switch this over to rotation as well because I'm going to rotate it up. I could move my pieces here as well, but you can see I'm going to rotate on the y-axis, the green axis, which is the y-axis. I'm going to start it at frame 300, we said. So I'm going to y-axis, click. So I'm just keying the one axis here is what I'm doing. So I could select it, and that way when I hit enter, it will only key that. And maybe over 1 second, 300 and 1 second plus 10 frames, 300 to 340. I'm going to rotate that up. So I'm going to rotate my camera up. Let's pull this down just a little so you can see. So now it kind of puts that a little down a little bit more so I can see it working just a little bit. So I pulled it down, and now I need to key this. Click, and it just set a key right there. Alright, so my whole movement now is I have one camera that you can see moving from right to left, a second camera moving from left to right, stops, and then it rotates up. That looks really good. I'm happy with that. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to pull my sequencer off screen for just a moment. And let's see. Now I need to hit play, but there's a problem when I hit play. So when I hit play, it's not showing the cinematic view. The reason for that is, let's go in and select our level sequencer, which I already forgot what I named it. Is this it? No. Let's go back here. Maybe I can just find it this way. Where was it? It was over here. So remember what you named it. Oh, I named it Camera 1, or Cameras 01. So I have to have that. The way to get it to play is with your level sequence selected, autoplay, and if you want it to loop, then select loop. If not, just leave it at don't loop. But you have to have that autoplay in order for it to play when you hit the play button here. All right, let's see how it looks. I've auto-played it. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Let's hit play. All right, I'm still not looking through the camera here. Let's say OK. And let us come back into here. Let me save what I've done. Save. I'm going to close my sequence because oh, one more thing that we didn't do that I want to show here is we talked about making transitions. Let me roll up this camera. We talked about making transitions, and currently from frame 150 to frame 180, there is nothing going on here. And let me pull this back so I can actually expand a little bit. Give me a little room to work with. There, and now I can see frames. So if I would like to do a fade in between here, let's add something that we can do to make a fade. So I'm going to add a fade track. There's my fade track. 0 means 0% faded, and 1, well, you can go beyond 1, but 1 means 100% faded. So anyway, I'm going to go 0. And what I'd really like to do is I'd like to start my fade at about 10 frames before the camera stops. So I will, I'm going to set a key for fading. It's going to be 100% faded. So there's 30 frames in between here. So I'm going to go in between 15 frames. And I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to do it just a little bit for 20 frames. It should be totally faded out. So 1, enter. And you can see even my timeline, it just turned black here. Let's see. Now I need to start it up again. So I'll go, let's give it 10 frames of blackness. So I'll just set another key where it's totally black. And then let's go 10 frames beyond the new camera fading in, and we'll set this back to 0, 0, enter, and you can see everything is going to show up again. So that's my fade track. And so things fade, but how do I get it to cut from one camera to my second camera? What actually controls that it knows to look at one camera or it knows to look at the other camera? So let's go find that. So we have to add, it used to be called a director track. It is now called the camera cut track. So we're going to add a camera cut track in here. And we're just going to animate which camera to jump to. So let's see. Let me pull this all the way back. And that looks good. So I'm going to go all the way to frame 0. And at frame 0, we're going to add a camera. Camera 1. All right, that looks good to me. Then I'm going to go in between from 150 to 180. In between is 165. And that's where I'm going to add or cut to camera 2. So I can add a camera, camera 2, at frame 165. And look at that, it's right in between my fade track. All right, that looks good. Let's save. And let's click on lock viewport to camera cuts. Let me pull this off to the side so you can see. And oh, let's go back to 0 and hit play. See how it works. All right, here's my first camera coming over my scene. And let's see, the second camera looks good, and then it tilts up. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's pause it. Whoops, stop. And now let's hit the play. Hit the play button and see if it actually works when it plays. So, play, camera, you can see all my interactive things. First camera goes down, fade to black, fade from black, walks through the scene, stops here, looks up at the motion, and then it lets the player take control again. So I now can try and, whoa, avoid this thing. That's kind of fun. and then I have that. So anyway, that is how to create a cinematic. Thanks a lot. Bye.